Hi guys, Triangleface here from Retro Game Revival, and today I'm going to talk about fighting games. Now for me, the golden age of home console fighting games was the PlayStation 1. There are some great fighting games on the PlayStation 1, and I'm going to look at a few today. Some fighting games have survived the test of time and are still coming out with new titles now, like Tekken, Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. But the games we're going to look at today are games that haven't brought out any games recently, and I think they deserve to make a comeback and get a re-release. So here are 5 games from the PlayStation 1 that I think deserve to make a comeback. Let's take a look.
First up, it's Battle Arena to Shinden. Now, Battle Arena to Shinden was an early title on the PlayStation 1 and was overshadowed by a lot of the other games out at the time, so it didn't really have much of a unique selling point. But it did have a good cast of characters, good weapons, and some very cool special moves. Now, one thing you could do in Battle Arena to Shinden is you could shortcut the special moves to the bumpers, so R1, R2, L1, L2. Now, this was good if you're playing against a less experienced player and they wanted to be able to enjoy using the special moves. Now, Battle Arena to Shinden isn't really offering anything you can't get with other fighting games, and I guess that's why it was left behind. But for me, it was a really fun game, and I do think it deserves a second chance. If the game were to make a comeback, I think it does need a little bit something extra to give it an edge. I did like how the characters always used to call out the names of their special moves as they performed them. It did kind of make it a bit cheesy, but that was part of the game's charm, and I did like it. This game also has one of my favourite characters from a fighting game ever in Foe. Old man with claws that used to create a big plasma ball, and they would run around on top of it. What's not to like about that? He would jump up in the air and shout and run across on his claws with a little ball of energy underneath him and run across the other players. Whenever I play the game, I used to spam that move because it's just one of my favourite moves of the game. So if this game made a comeback, it would have to include Foe. I'm not sure what a modern day remake of Battle Arena to Shinden would look like, but I think this PlayStation 1 game deserves a second look and a comeback. There was a total of 4 instalments of Battle Arena to Shinden, and I for one would be happy to see a 5th. Next up, it's Table Number 1. Now, Table Number 1 is a fairly unheard of game, but it is a good one on the PlayStation 1. Table Number 1 is about an intergalactic fighting tournament. We've got different fighters from different planets. As a result, a lot of the characters are different aliens, although there's quite a few human fighters in the game. As far as fighting games go, it's fairly generic, but it has got quite a good throwing system, which I enjoyed. It allows you to sort of arrange for some good ring-out finishes. There's a good cast of characters and some really good movesets. Where the game's story is about different aliens from different planets fighting each other, it does give you a unique cast of characters, like this demon guy and this robot. But where the game really excels is the quest mode. This is part of the game that I really enjoyed, and this is what made it really stand out to me. There's multiple dungeons that you can play through, and although the controls are hard and difficult to get used to at first, once you get the hang of it, it can be really fun. You explore a dungeon and have to collect different items to help you get through. Whenever you encounter enemies, it opens up into a full battle and you get access to all the moves you would have in the main game. You can also select any of the fighters from the main game, including boss characters that you can unlock. You can even throw things at enemies. You can have items that increase your strength, increase your max health. There's loads of different things that you can get throughout the adventure. There's also little bits of currency you can collect that allow you to buy extra items in the game. There's keys used to unlock different doors, and other things you would expect in a dungeon adventure game. There's something about this mode that I found really unique, and I've not really found anything that's matched it since, although Tekken Force mode and games like that have similar options. The closest thing I've played to this is the Devil Within mode from Tekken 5. Now, at this point, you can pick up items and drop them into the shop, collect some of the currency, and then use it to gain different items. There are also parts of the game where you have to avoid traps, like boulders and logs rolling across the floor that you have to jump over or avoid, or there's little spring traps on the floor that fire arrows. Once you've managed to navigate your way through the maze, you find yourself fighting off the different bosses. The bosses get progressively harder, and later on even include characters from the main game. So you have to really brush up your skill in the main arcade mode before you take on the dungeon, because you could spend a long while getting to the end of the dungeon only to be faced with a boss character from the game that you then have to defeat on your first attempt, or it's back to the beginning again. This mode really is grueling, but it's definitely worth it and it's really fun. And that's why I think Table Number 1 deserves to get a modern day remake. The only thing I would say is this mode did get a little bit too hard, so it would be nice to have some saveable checkpoints throughout the game. For my next pick, it's Tang Taste the Pain. Now this game had some brutal fatalities that rivaled even Mortal Kombat. And the fun thing about it was that you didn't have to put in difficult button combinations. Whichever button you ended the battle on, being triangle, circle, X or square, would give you a different death sequence. And of course the game featured the Wu-Tang Clan. This game had a really good story mode where different battles would have different variations. Sometimes it would be you ganging up on the enemy, and sometimes it would be the enemy ganging up on you. It could be one-on-one battles or four-way brawls. There's some different challenges, like trying to defeat multiple enemies under a certain time limit, and completing those challenges or hitting certain combos, or doing different feats throughout the game would unlock different things, unlocking additional fatalities, different characters, and different costumes. The game also doubled up as a CD. If you put the game into your CD player, you actually had a Wu-Tang album as well, which made it a really good value for money item at the time. It's one of the only games I ever got ID'd for trying to buy and refused being able to buy it. But I was under 18 at the time, so the shop clerk was doing his due diligence. But I did eventually manage to get a copy of the game, and got a lot of use out of it. Definitely a good game to have a multi-tap with. You could have four-way battles, where although your energy bars were small, if you got to the end of an energy bar you would die and respawn, and you'd slowly whittle down until it was one-on-one. This game offered a huge cast of characters, and even an alternative to each character in the game. There's all sorts of different features. As you see here, when you have a full bar underneath your health, you would start to glow and deal additional damage. And of course, there's all the different brutal fatalities throughout the game.
Don't mess with Big Baby Jesus.
Collecting all the different chambers allowed you to unlock all the different features of the game, which gave it really good longevity. It really did have quite a fun story mode, where it explored different areas and have different types of battles each time you went in to start a fight. And the penultimate game on my list is Bushido Blade. Bushido Blade was a really unique fighting game which didn't have health bars. Instead, you would have to deal a critical blow to your opponent to kill them. If you caught them in the arm or the leg, they would have an injury, but if you took a blow straight to the face or the stomach, you would instantly die. Although some characters had unique movesets if you gave them certain weapons, the movesets followed the weapons rather than the characters. The game had a decent story mode and really open areas that you could explore and run around, and made for really good one-on-one fighting. If levels had snow or sand, you'd also see footprints behind you, which was quite an impressive feature for the time the game came out. You would press the right bumpers to change between a low, medium and high stance, and then you would have a low, medium and high attack, giving you a nice easy range of moves to master. The game also featured slash mode, where you would have to go up against 100 ninjas. I have to admit that was never a mode I was able to beat before I was able to play the game with save states and emulators. But I don't know of anyone who could defeat 100 ninjas in a row without dying, because if you lost, you'd go all the way back to the beginning. Quite a difficult game to master, really good fun, and definitely a fun multiplayer game. It'd be interesting to see what a modern day Bushido Blade would bring, as the concept of this game is well ahead of its time. And the last game on my list is Bloody Raw, and what a fighting game. When I think about fighting games, this game offers everything you want to see. It's really fast paced, has some really good movesets, and this game has a brilliant feature where you start off with some great fighters, but each fighter has the ability to transform into a beast. You have your health bar and then you have your beast bar, and the way the beast bar works really makes this a fun game. I always used to try and keep my beast bar throughout the first round without using it. That way, if I was able to win the first round without using my beast meter, that means as soon as I start the second round, I can go straight into beast mode and try and brutally attack the opponent and get 2 wins in a row. This allowed for a really interesting cast of characters, so not only have you got the base characters, you then also have all of the things the characters turn into. You could then also utilise the rave meter, which made your character slightly faster and dealing more damage, but it meant your beast bar went down, but allowed you to have some brutal finishes. The use of the beast meter and the rave meter really made this game quite unique, and there's something really satisfying about picking your right moment to transform into a beast just as you're about to attack. The movesets in this game were really good, because all the moves you could do as a human you could also do as a beast. The game had a punch button, kick button, then the rave, but then the beast button. And when you're already transformed into a beast, that button then became slashes. I really did have a lot of fun playing this game, and although Bloody Roar did have a few follow-ups, I do feel like it needs a modern day re-release. Well, that's my list. Are there any fighting games that you think deserve to get a remake? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be kept up to date with all the latest videos from Retro Gaming Revival.